Is this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer Tim Quirkjian. I'm his son, Jeff Quirkjian. And Dad, you are in Los Angeles, my friend, recording this on the day of Game 3. So upon release, we won't have all of the action from Game 3, but we got a lot of great baseball to talk about with you.
Right. The games in Toronto were very interesting. And speaking of Toronto, Jeff, I saw Harold Reynolds in Toronto. Now, Harold, of course, was our guest last week, and his Bo Jackson story just was so good that I must have gotten 100 comments from people who saw it. So I saw Harold, and Harold told me that Bo called him and said, "Stop using my name. My phone is blowing up."
Stop it. No, that didn't happen.
Yes. So Bo Jackson wasn't really angry, but he called Harold Reynolds to tell him to stop telling stories about me. My phone is blowing up. This is Bo Jackson, who hasn't played in the big leagues in 31 years, and his name is still out there. Jeff, the response to him, he is such a lightning rod. Like, everybody has a story. Everybody loves Bo Jackson. We just threw it out there, one story, and it got an amazing coverage. Agreed?
Dad, let me tell you, on your Twitter account at Quirkjian_ESPN, I mean, it did 500,000 views. On Instagram, it did 1.2 million views of that clip. Now, Dad, I had posted the blooper of what had happened with Harold Reynolds before that. That only did a measly 134,000 views on Instagram. But this one, Dad, still swarming the internet with people. If you don't follow us at Great Game or What, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of the stuff, and then follow my dad on Twitter, you're missing out on some really great video. Because obviously Harold Reynolds, the interview was amazing, but seeing him tell the stories, it's even better.
It was great. So that was the good.
Now, wait, here's the real question, though, Dad. I don't want to put pressure on you, but I have more Bo Jackson stories from Harold that I was thinking about putting on social media. Now I'm a little bit worried to do it because Bo Jackson is someone I don't want to be messing with if he finds out it's me.
This is not our fault, Jeff, okay? Harold told funny stories. That's all there is to it, and that's what we're going to stay with, all right? All right, we'll discuss that later, whether we go more Bo Jackson, okay?
So Bo Jackson, future guest. Harold, we know him through Harold. Harold had a great time. Dad, the amount of people saying Harold needs to come back next season as another guest, I felt like even though we let him go, I felt like he could have gone for 7 hours, so we need Harold back next year. Maybe we bring Harold and Bo Jackson on the same episode.
Right.
Thoughts?
Of course, Jeff, we'd love to get Bo Jackson. I just don't think it's that easy, but we'll give it our best, all right? Speaking of not easy, Jeff, yesterday, so Sunday, I'm traveling from Toronto to LA, and I get through security, which took almost an hour at the Toronto airport. Nobody's fault, customs, everything else. And I find out my flight has been delayed for 7 hours. 7 hours.
It's your nightmare.
Right. So now I can't make my connection to LA. So I have to switch flights. And I finally get on a flight that leaves me with a 5-hour layover. And then I lost I lost my first class seat. So they said, we'll put you in the exit row in the back. It'll have some leg room. When I got there, the exit row was not available. So I sat in a middle seat for 6 hours on an airplane. And Jeff, let's see if you could remember what Pop does when he sits on a middle seat on a night flight in a completely packed airplane. What do I usually do?
Well, it could be a number of different things. Sometimes you task yourself with coming up with the 1962 Reds starting lineup. Sometimes you try to name the Gold Glove shortstops since 1912.
You remember me? Or you know me well.
Or you do Team Tims a lot. You do a lot of Team Tims to keep yourself occupied.
Right, I did. So this time I went way over the edge. I did some anagrams because I remember I did.
Oh, that's right.
I did the Clayton Kershaw anagram. Say it again. You got it.
Did you ever tell Clayton Kershaw this
No,
anagram?
he's too good for me to give him such a
Yes,
ridiculous
he
thing.
is. I
Okay,
would agree.
right. I don't want to insult him by telling him that LA Psy Hero wants K. He would look at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Because that would be a legitimate question. So I spent a good 3.5 hours doing anagrams. 3.5. I was so bored because I didn't bring a book and I was so cramped I couldn't even get my computer out because there was no room. That's how crowded it was on that flight. So I came up with two of them. They're both terrible, but since I've already told you, Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Dodgers, who pitched the classic game two. All right. An anagram for his name is, "Oh, you shiny toy mamba." That's what I came up with. So
What?
he's shiny. He's a toy mamba. A mamba, of course, was Kobe Bryant's nickname. You know, an African snake is a mamba, but he's a toy mamba because he's little and he's shiny because he's great. I can't believe we're going to put this on the air, but yes. Oh, you shiny toy mamba. That's what I came up with. Yamamoto's name.
Dad, I mean,
It's terrible.
It is an anagram.
It is.
It's bad, but it is like at least it fits.
Right. So, and then I figured, well, I've already done Clayton Kershaw. Let's take a shot at the game three starter for the Dodgers, since that's all I seem to care about, Dodger anagrams. Tyler Glasnow, who is this, 6'8" really smart, really handsome. He looks like an actor. He looks like a rock star. He looks like somebody more than a baseball pitcher. So for him, I came up with Sly Tan Glower. Sly Tan Glower is Tyler Glasnow. Now that's worse than Yamamoto. Agreed?
That's really bad, Dad.
All right. Well, let's get out of that and let's just go on to some real baseball that we saw.
Dad,
yes.
I think you would be proud of me because I was trying to come up with an anagram for somebody. And so I sat on Blake Snell for a while and I was trying, I can't believe, because we haven't done anagrams in a while. We really haven't. And I was thinking Blake Snell, and the only things I could get out of it, but it's not using all of the letters, are enables is in it and sellable.
Right.
So I'm trying. So enables K, like I just couldn't get anything as clever as a shiny mamba.
Right. Terrible. All right.
I did my very best.
Blake Snell also. And it comes up, he's got the word balls in his name because he throws a lot of balls for a reason. So for Blake Snell, it's K balls lean, Leen. Now, that doesn't mean anything, but strikeout is K is strikeout. So strikeout balls are lean. That's lean. So I can't believe we're going to use any of these things. We're going to cut all of these out because they're all so bad.
I don't think we can. I don't think we can cut them out. Although Blake Snell's anagram you came up with sounds like something you don't want to hear at the urologist.
Right, exactly. I meant balls and strikes. That's fairly obvious. All right, we got to get on to real baseball and get off of this ridiculous discussion. I apologize. All right, so Yamamoto, Jeff, in game two was absolutely tremendous. And just another reminder, Jeff, he's this little guy. He's got elite command. And because he's so disciplined in everything he does, he's always, I'm told, searching for the perfect throw is how it's put to me, like the perfect pitch. And that's like his only fault is he's such a perfectionist that every pitch he throws has to be perfect. Okay, that's how he gets behind in the count 1-0 once in a while, because he's even picking on that first pitch to make sure it's just down and away on the corner, but he was absolutely brilliant again. And this is 2 complete games in a row, Jeff. I mean, the last pitcher to throw 2 consecutive complete games in the postseason was Curt Schilling, who did it 3 in a row in 2001. That's how good Yamamoto is. And he took a Blue Jays team that was relentless, and he shut them down completely. Okay, the other thing I learned was that Addison Barger, along with Ernie Clement, has become my new favorite player in the major leagues.
Oh, no.
No, I just told you what a great throwing arm he has. And of course, he hit the first pinch hit grand slam in the history of the World Series. Now, Jeff, Does that surprise you at all? We've been playing the World Series since 1903, and that was the first pinch hit grand slam. It surprised me.
I've learned, Dad, that nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to Major League
Right.
Baseball and the history
Right.
of it. You know, I mean, yes, it does, but at this point, I can't be surprised.
Right. So he slept in teammate Davis Schneider's couch the night before the game. So he woke up before game one, sleeping on his teammate's couch right inside the Sky Dome. The Rogers Center, there's a hotel there. That's where he woke up in the morning. And at the end of the night, he gave his spikes to the Hall of Fame because they needed his spikes because they're the first spikes that ever hit a pinch hit grand slam in the World Series. Just shows you how life changes. But Jeff, I also told you, this is the part I want to talk about, is he swings as hard as any player in the major leagues today. So I just asked him, have you always swung this hard? He goes, always. He said, I was the littlest. You know how big he is, Jeff. He is ripped, and he's only 5'11", but he is massive. He's so strong, it's ridiculous. So he said, well, I was the smallest kid in my high school. I was 4'10" as a freshman in high school. 4'10", Jeff. He said, as a sophomore, I was 5 feet tall and 90 pounds. I was smaller than that, but I was about that size in the 10th grade. So he said, and my dad always wanted me to play up. So he said, I was 13 years old, a really small 13-year-old playing against 18-year-olds. 13 against 18. And he said, that's how I learned I better swing as hard as I can just in case I hit it, because I was so much smaller than everybody else. So that amazed me. Speaking of Davis Schneider, I got such a kick out of this watching him during BP before game two. He was doing batting stances of Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Giancarlo Stanton, and Paul Molitor, and they were all absolutely seamless impersonations of other hitters. So I asked him, what's the deal with that? He goes, well, I just love baseball. I just love watching guys swing, and I love to imitate them. It's rare that you see a player in today's age doing it. So he was doing it for his teammates, and they were howling with laughter because it was so funny. So I told him the Molitor one was absolutely perfect because he never played with Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor's
No.
Yes. So I found it. He was, and then I told John Schneider about this, and John Schneider, the manager, told me that Davis Schneider will take one of those batting stances into a game and say, all right, I'm going to do the Aaron Judge stance here. I'm going to do Giancarlo Stanton. I'm going to do Paul Molitor. Not all the time, but once in a while. And then he actually takes it at bat with the stance from somebody else. Do you find that odd?
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's a bit, not a real game thing. Come on.
He's doing it in a game, and he's a good player, so it works. And last thing, Jeff, from the takeaways, Don Mattingly is in the World Series for the first time. He almost made it as a Dodger manager a couple times, but as a player, he barely missed. Remember, he came up in 82. The Yankees went to the World Series in 81. His final season was 95. And they won the World Series, the Yankees did, in 96. So he played 82 through 95 and never played in the World Series for the Yankees. But, Jeff, this is the only story you really need to know about Don Mattingly, who, after Keith Hernandez, I believe is the greatest defensive first baseman ever. He's certainly the best one I've ever seen. Batting champion, MVP, and if he hadn't hurt his back, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. Easily, because I think he was the best player in the American League for a 5-year period. But this is the only story you need to know. So it's 95, and his back is killing him. And the Yankees have a good team. Buck Showalter's the manager. And Don Mattingly goes to Buck Showalter halfway through the season and says, you got to take me out of the cleanup spot. I'm not good enough to hit cleanup for the Yankees right now. And then when the season ended, Jeff, he went to Buck Showalter and said, you got to go get another first baseman. I'm not good enough to play first base for the Yankees anymore. Can you imagine that, Jeff? This is a discussion that the manager has to have with the injured / aging player. And it's the hardest discussion in the world. Mike Hargrove, former Indians manager at the time, told me once, never, ever, ever tell a superstar player that he's done. That's the worst thing you can possibly do, even though it has to be done. Don Mattingly told the manager himself, I can't do this anymore. I'm not good enough to play first base for the Yankees. And they went and got Tino Martinez that offseason and won the World Series the next year. So that's who Don Mattingly is and always will be.
Legendary. I couldn't imagine having to have that conversation because with all of the high athletic IQ of these players, I'm sure a lot of them don't want to look inward and say, no, my better years are behind me. But for Don Mattingly, who makes a great manager now because he was able to have the wherewithal to even manage himself,
right,
to tell the manager, you don't need to tell me this. I'm telling you this. That's a good lesson for our kids, Dad, for the youth,
right,
for the families listening right now. I didn't really have a tough decision telling you I was done with baseball because baseball was done with me before I even really started.
Jeff, it's a hard game. You were a good little player and your heart wasn't in it, and you can't play baseball unless your heart is in it. We've been over this. To the Quirkjians, I only have a few because there aren't many games, and this is just a follow-up on the Ernie Clement using a glove from eBay. I made a terrible reporter's mistake by not asking him, where did you get the glove from? So he said, I asked him again, he said, it's a Mizuno glove. A little old lady from Japan put it on eBay, and that's how he got it. So that makes the story even better. He's not just using a glove he bought on eBay. He bought it from an old Japanese lady. It's a Mizuno glove, and she put it up. That's the glove he's using. So there's an older woman in Japan thinking to herself, yeah, this third baseman for the Blue Jays used my glove. I don't know why.
We were talking about that in the episode. We talked about it. Like, what? Someone's got to be watching this thinking, wow.
Well,
I mean, listen, I sold a desk on Facebook Marketplace the other day for like $20. Right. I don't think it's going to be like at the reporter's desk at NBC Nightly News anytime, but that's the comparison we're talking about.
Jeff, Ernie Clement, great. And like I said, Addison Barger is just a great conversationalist, a really funny guy. So we talked about his Grand Slam, first pinch hit Grand Slam in World Series history. It was also obviously, it was his first Grand Slam of his career. So he becomes the fourth player to hit his first career Grand Slam in a World Series game, because he'd never hit one during the regular season, because this is really his rookie year, essentially. He's played before, but this is the 1 year he really got a chance. Bobby Richardson, Chuck Hiller in 1962, Jose Canseco of 1988 are the only guys to hit their first career Grand Slam, and it came in the World Series. Find that interesting?
That's impressive. I find that interesting. And then there's Freddie Freeman, who went how long without one? Then hit one of the biggest, the biggest Grand Slam in World Series history?
Yeah, he hit several before he hit the biggest Grand.
Before that, but still.
Right. He went like 226 home runs into his major league career without hitting a Grand Slam. And then I think he hit a bunch after that. I'm not going to try to remember that stat. So,
I keep hearing the same story about Freddie Freeman. By the way, when Freddie Freeman retires, Dad, I genuinely think of current players right now, he's my number one ask as a guest.
Yeah,
I really firmly believe that, because he, through and through, I've never met the guy, never spoken to the guy. Seems like the greatest, nicest guy in the world. And then I've heard this story, and I'm sure baseball fans everywhere have heard this story before, but Freddie Freeman's mom passed away from melanoma, and he wears long sleeves for every game throughout the entire year. So we're talking those hot days in LA in July, in Atlanta, hot, humid days in Georgia. He's wearing long sleeves in honor of his mother to protect his skin, but in honor of his mother.
I've written that. I've talked to him about it multiple times, and he has cried openly to me, right in front of me.
Is he as good as I think he is, Dad, as a human?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And he's the future Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer right now for me if he retired right now.
And he genuinely, to me, gives Don Mattingly vibes in that I think he's the kind of guy to say, like, hey, you can't keep me in the starting lineup. I'm not the same guy. You can't keep me here. I need something new because I'm not the guy I was. He seems like that kind of team player. Number one guest of current players, I would say.
Okay, very good. All right, so Bo Bichette started a World Series game at second base, Jeff. He had never played a major league game at second base, and then he started game one of the World Series at second base. So he is the first player to start a World Series game in the infield, having not played that infield position in the major leagues since Jake Flowers in 1931 with St. Louis. And no one's ever done this. Jake Flowers played third base, but no one's ever done this at second base, never played second base before. And then he starts a game in the World Series at second base, which again is a difficult position to play. And he played well. He got a hit his first at bat on a 3-0 pitch. They had him swinging on 3-0 in his first at bat since September the 6th. And he made a pretty darn good play to his right. So it was impressive what Bo Bichette did in game one. And last thing,
September
Jeff,
the 6th,
last thing,
2131. Emily's birthday. It comes up again.
Yes.
It's haunting me at this point.
Way to go, Jeff. Good memory. All right, last thing, Jeff. I had a little chat with Mookie Betts the other day, and I just related to him the story that Jerry Hairston told us, that Mookie Betts is the best athlete he's ever been around. And that Mookie, hits a golf ball 310 yards. He's he's bowled 9 300 games. And Jerry Hairston told us that Mookie could play slot receiver in the NFL right now and would start at point guard for the Lakers. So for fun, just for fun, I went to Mookie and said, look, this is what Jerry Hairston said. So I said, what about the Lakers point guard? And he laughed and he said, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think I can do that. I don't think so. But then when I said, what about slot receiver? He said, I think I can do that. He thinks he can play in the NFL right now. And given how fast he is, given how quick he is, given how great his hands are, maybe that's possible. So he left that one open. Yeah, I think I could do that. How about that?
Well, and I also think that any athlete you ask that's in baseball, what's the hardest thing to do in sport? They all say it's hitting a baseball.
Right.
So if you can hit a baseball, I'm not saying you can go play quarterback in the NFL. That's not what I'm getting at. But if you think about it in the four major sports, if the hardest thing pretty much agreed upon is hitting a baseball thrown by a pitcher, then everything else is kind of like, yeah, I can probably figure that out.
Yeah, I've told you many times, the skills required to play baseball transfer to the other sports way easier than basketball and football skills transfer to baseball. I've told you a million times, you put a ball of any kind in the hands of a baseball player, and he's going to look like he knows what to do with that. And he has played that before. That's a fact. I believe in that.
On this date in baseball history, Dad, what do you have for us?
Okay, on this date in 1964, Lenny Harris was born. Lenny Harris had more successful pinch hits, 212, of any player in Major League history. He also had 804 at-bats as a pinch hitter. So 212 hits, 804 bats, most ever. I always loved it, though, Jeff. He wasn't an everyday player for most of his career, which explains all these pinch hits. But when he was with the Rockies in 1999, they had a bunch of guys that came off the bench and could play anywhere. And I did a little story on those guys and they called themselves the stuntmen, which I just loved. A stuntman is a guy who starts the game on the bench, and then he's asked to come in and pinch hit or pinch run or play several different defensive positions. I love that phrase, the stuntman.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
It's so cool. It's so perfect, fitting.
That's what you got to be. All right, let's see how well your memory is, Jeff. 1988 on this date, Corbin Joseph was born.
Corbin Joseph, brother of Caleb Joseph.
Way to go. And remember the story he told, that he and his brother played in high school together. His brother hit for the cycle. And then Caleb, who was the best player on the team, had a home run, a triple, and a double when he came to the plate. And he told me he hit a line drive back to the pitcher, and the pitcher caught it. Otherwise, he would have hit for the cycle also. Brothers hitting for the cycle. I know it's a high school game, but that would have been an all-timer, right?
You think Uncle Matt and Uncle Andy, your two older brothers, ever came close to anything like that at Catholic U?
No, not a chance. Matt was a freshman and Andy was a senior, and I don't think either one of them ever hit for the cycle. But the thought of doing it in the same game with your brother, that's just phenomenal.
All right, Dad. Do you have a Team Tim to wrap up today's episode?
Yeah, I do. And again,
did you come up with it from the middle seat of the airplane?
I did.
Let me just say though, Dad, you, even though the middle seat might stink for you, you might be the best middle seat person ever. You're very slight.
Yeah,
you can fit your whole body in between the two armrests.
Yeah,
and you sleep like this with your head back. You're easy. You're an easy seatmate.
Yeah, people look at me and say, "Good, we got a little guy." I told you the story, Jeff. I'm going to tell it again. I was on a baseball writers flight, not just baseball writers, but a bunch of us were going from one place to the other. This is like the mid 90s. Okay. And there were 3 baseball writers in the back of the plane, and all 3 of them weighed well over 300 pounds. And they're sitting side by side by side. So one of them, Marty Noble, comes up because he sees me at the front of the plane. He comes up, and I have a middle seat near the front of the plane. And he says, "Tim, we need to make a trade here." So I went and sat in between the 2 300-pound guys in the back of the plane, just so they didn't have to sit 3 by 3 by 3. So we switched, and Marty Noble went up and sat in a middle seat, not comfortable for him. But you're right. This is the only advantage of being 5'5" and 140 pounds, is that I can sit in a middle seat and come up with a Team Tim. So the Team Tim was inspired by Yamamoto, and it's also Spencer Strider's birthday today. Spencer Strider, of course, Braves pitcher. He's really, really good. Today's his birthday. So let's see if you can figure out the Team Tim. Yoshi Yamamoto, Spencer Strider.
Is it initials with the same letter?
Yes. Jeff, you're really starting to think like me, which really worries me that you would start to think this quickly like me, because I don't want you to be like this, Jeff. You should be doing something more important on an airplane.
Dad, I'm going to stop you there. You have corrupted me beyond belief, okay? I just want you to know. I love you, but I am totally cursed. I look at box scores differently. I tried to come up with an anagram for Blake Snell. What am I doing? I have a daughter.
Jeff, I told you and Kelly all these years, whatever you do, don't be like Pop. Don't be like me.
Don't be like Pop.
It's pathetic. It's sad, but it makes me happy. So it got me through a 6-hour flight. So it's the all repeating letters Team Tim. And guess who our first baseman is? He's already appeared on this podcast. Who is the first baseman?
Freddie Freeman?
Freddie Freeman. FF.
All right.
And our second baseman is Frankie Frisch, Hall of Famer.
Frankie Frisch. So you got FFFF.
Yeah, lifetime 316 hitter, which I believe is still the highest career average by a switch hitter, which has always amazed me, Jeff. If switch hitting is such a great advantage, how come no switch hitter ever hit 317 or higher for his career? It proves switch hitting is really hard to do. Mm-hmm. And Frankie Frisch was one of the best switch hitters of all time. Now, third base, I have Manny Machado, in part because he's still active and people might remember him. But I have Buddy Bell down here also. I covered him with the Rangers in the 80s, and he was one of the great defensive third basemen I've ever seen and got well over 2,000 hits. Not sure why no one thinks about Buddy Bell as a Hall of Famer. I certainly do after watching him play all those years. Shortstop is hard, Jeff. I came up with a bunch of shortstops. Bo Bichette being one, but he didn't make the final cut. Trey Turner of the Phillies.
Yeah.
But I landed, and again, I need some help from our listeners because I did this off the top of my head on an airplane last night or 2 nights ago. Carlos Correa is the shortstop.
Wow. Okay.
Won a couple World Series, did some really big things in the postseason. So I'm going with him at shortstop. Outfield is Mickey Mantle.
Mantle, of course.
Barry Bonds.
Minnie. Oh,
I could have gone with Minnie who?
Minnie Minoso.
Right, Minnie Minoso, Hall of
I
Famer.
thought you could have gone. He played a little bit at third too. I mean, not a ton of games, but
Jeff.
I was looking it up really fast because I thought that's who you were going to go with.
Wow, Jeff, good for
and,
you.
And sneak him into
Minnie Minoso's a
infield.
Hall of Famer also, but so is Goose Goslin. So he's my third outfielder, although I forgot Minnie Minoso, and you brought him in, so I'm glad we brought him up. And our catcher was difficult, Jeff. I considered Darren Dalton, but I ended up with Bob Boone, Aaron Boone's father. And Bob Boone won a ton of gold gloves, played on some championship teams. And so I landed on Bob Boone as the catcher. Now, again, if any of our listeners have a better list than this, we're more than happy to take your call or to take an email or something, because there's some really clever people out there, Jeff. A bunch of guys, and we're going to get to these later this week and next week and everything else. A lot of people have sent some Team Tims in that just put mine to shame. There are some really smart, clever people out there.
Well, a lot of people are learning the game to the depths that you are, along with me. I'm just shocked that there's a Goose Goslin and a Goose Gossage.
Right. And and Goose Gossage is one, even though his first name is Rich. There are a bunch of pitchers, Jeff, with the repeating letters. So Bert Blyleven, Mike Messina, Goose Gossage, Robin Roberts, Don Drysdale, Dizzy Dean, Red Ruffing, maybe the best hitting pitcher, one of the best hitting pitchers ever. Yamamoto, of course, we mentioned, and Candy Cummings, who played in the 1800s, and he is the guy that supposedly invented the curveball. He's the first one who threw a curveball, Candy Cummings. So that was what I came up with, Jeff, on my trip Sunday night from my difficult trip, 5-hour layover, 6-hour trip, middle seat on American.
You did great. I just did a quick Google to double check Bo Jackson's actual name. It's Vincent Edward Jackson. Right. So we didn't make that mistake again.
We've made it multiple times. All right, we're going to try to get Bo Jackson on the show. We have zero chance of that happening. Zero
chance.
But who do we have on this week, Jeff? Who do we have on this week?
We have the Shulmans. This is going to be great. We have a father-son duo, Dad. The first ever father-son duo to call a World Series game. Dan Shulman is the TV voice of the Blue Jays for Sportsnet. His son Ben is the lead radio voice of the team. This is historic. This is the first time ever that we know of. I mean, how incredible. And they're going to be our guests on our father-son podcast during the World Series.
Right. That's exactly why we set it up this way, because this is a relationship show. You and I are so lucky to get to do this together. But they have a better gig than we do, Jeff. They are calling World Series games together, father and son. Now, again, they're in different booths, but they've done games together in the same booth, which I think is so cool. But yeah, so we will have the Shulmans, and that will run on Wednesday. Dan, of course, is a dear friend of mine from all the years I worked with him at ESPN, did games with him, did shows with him, and Ben, I've gotten to know now, and I will warn everyone, Dan Shulman's favorite movie is The Princess Bride. So we're going to talk about that when we get on the air. Very underrated.
I thought you were going to say
very funny.
I thought you were going to say they have a much better gig than we do, because they actually get paid to do their jobs. And we just do this podcast because it brings us enormous amounts of joy.
We do this in our spare time. They do it for a living. There's a big difference there, Jeff.
Make sure to check out that interview tomorrow. And as we mentioned, Harold Reynolds last week. If you missed it, go back in the podcast. You do not want to miss it. So many great stories. Thank you for listening. And as always, thanks for being a part of our family.